All right, now let's learn how to generate PyKX objects. And one of the things that you'll see when creating these PyKX objects is that it's very common to take a Python object and then transform that using the 2q method into a PyKX object. So to do this, let's take an example. We'll look at a Python dictionary and see if we can transform that into a PyKX dictionary. So we define our Python dictionary here. We have our keys and our values, and then we just pass that to kx.2q to create our PyKX dictionary. So really, it's a very simple process to transform Python data into PyKX data. We can do the same thing with a NumPy array, for example. Take our NumPy array, pass that to kx.2q, and what do we get out? A int vector PyKX type. And then finally, we can do this with pandas data frames as well to get a PyKX table of rows and columns by passing in that data frame to 2q. And we can also do that with a PyArrow array and pass that array right into PyKX, kx.2q, to generate us a PyKX list. So these are some ways you can take your Python data types and transform them into PyKX types. And then let's do the opposite. So we can then take those PyKX types and transform them back into Pythonic data types. So we have the dictionary that we created above. This is our PyKX dictionary. All we have to do is say .py, and this will transform that PyKX dictionary back into a Python data type dictionary. We can do the same thing with our PyKX vector. We want to transform that back into a NumPy array, and same thing with our PyKX table. We can take that table and transform that back into a pandas data frame using .pd. So we have many options for transforming data back and forth between PyKX and Pythonic data types. So the next thing that we'll explore is how do we generate data using PyKX functions. And the one that we're going to dive into is called random. And it's a really powerful function that will give us the capability to generate a ton of data and do it really quickly. So let's take this code example, kx.random.random. So we're using the random functionality. And our goal here is to generate a vector that contains 1 million random floating point values between 0 and 100. And with this single line of code, we can do that extremely quickly. And what we get is that PyKX float vector. So a PyKX vector of floats. And we can also do this a little bit more specifically. If we wanted to generate a list of just 10 values that are between 0 and 100, we can do the same sort of thing, passing in the index for 1 to 10 and the maximum value of 100, and we will see that a PyKX list is generated in this case. Now, we can do this with multi-dimensional lists as well. So you can pass in whatever dimensionality you want from your list. And in this case, we're looking at values between 0 and 1 that are randomly selected. Now, there's an interesting method in PyKX that will allow us to generate random data across the entire allowable range of that PyKX data type. So for example, if we wanted to create unique IDs, we have a specific atomic type for unique IDs here, and we would like to create unique IDs over the entire allowable range of all possible unique IDs. All we have to do is say .null. So what this will do is create 5 unique IDs right here that are across the entire range of possible unique IDs. So this is really powerful for getting that entire range available to you. And then the other way you can do it is do .int, and that will also allow you to generate data across the full allowable range of that PyKX data type. Now, when we're working with random, we can also set a seed, and this will allow us to replicate results if necessary, and you can set your seed to whatever you want here, whatever integer you want. And you could also set a seed for an individual function call instead of setting it globally. So you have some flexibility for how and when you want to set a specific seed. And then finally, if we wanted to generate a table using random, we can do that just as we discussed above. You start with your kx.table, you specify your columns that you're interested in. So you want to create a column X, Y, and then for each column, you pass in the values that you would like to be in that column. So we're passing in a random values, 5 random values between 0 and 100. And then for Y, we would like to generate 5 random values out of A, B, and C potential values. And you can see here that table was then created. So go ahead and pause the video now and try to complete exercise 3. And when you're done, you can go ahead and click Reveal Solution to check your work.